Okay, what song did you make up?
Perfect. Okay, so you want to hear the song? Hold on, let me get my vocal cords.
Yeah, warm them up. Get all nice and warm.
F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere and anytime at all out here on the podcast of the Peas.
Oh, that was
Wow.
good. I was for a second there. I was like, I feel like I've heard this before, but
Yeah.
that was
No,
good.
do not copyright me, please. I made it.
Can you imagine if we get a message that says we've copyrighted? Like YouTube will send a message that we copyrighted. Yeah, that's so valid because
That'll happen.
that will happen. You got your fuzzy duck shirt on.
I do. Go Hazelnut Chino.
Peyton Rose, I have that same shirt.
Old Navy.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite.
Are you eating?
I'm eating like protein ball, but I don't make them into balls because I'm lazy. So protein
Bowl.
It's like oatmeal, chocolate chip, peanut butter, and honey.
Protein bowl, not protein.
Protein bowl. It is really good.
I say
the flavors are melting in my mouth. I know that that's wrong. Okay, so if anybody wants to say if the flavors are melting on my tongue, okay, well.
Oh, that sounded right the first time you said it.
Hi, friends! We've missed you! And that's so we're talking about friends today.
That was good.
Back to the podcast, everybody. I hope everybody's having a good start to their week. I hope everybody is smiling. I hope we're staying positive. I hope the sunshine is filling all the states because it's 90 degrees here in Ohio. I'm sure it's 180 in Texas, and it's probably about 92 in Kentucky.
Correct.
Weatherman Lexi.
Just my thermometer at work.
We have the meteorologist on the Zoom with us today.
I do it all, folks. When's week been? What have we been up to?
Work.
Okay.
I've been studying my little brain out for my anatomy exam tomorrow. And so I've been wearing my lucky shirt, as my youth kids call it, and I will wear it to my exam tomorrow. And I will wash it before then. But
Wow.
That was just a formality. I just said that. I just said it to say it.
Yeah.
So we will see if it. I'm not gonna do one load for the shirt, so do it that what you will.
If anybody has anything to say about that, let them. Because here's we've all done it.
Especially for the lucky shirt. I mean, you can't wash the luck out.
It's that wear the same socks every time without wash. So
or the same sliders.
Yeah, wrong.
Sliding shorts. I had a pair of lucky sliding shorts, but I did wash them.
Okay, well, I had a few pairs of lucky stuff in softball, and that went out the window.
A few.
I think all of my lucky stuff might have got first the minute I stepped foot into an Eagle uniform. And it all just went. Pew!
Luck wouldn't have saved us. Nothing could have.
Well, the Lord, but he mostly just wiped our tears.
He was there for comfort.
Yeah,
and I can't wait till we see him and he brings out this big old jar of. These are the tears that you should have had.
Yeah,
this was just the jar of tears from Moorhead.
It'll be Moorhead. It'll be a barrel, not just a jar. Huge. Peyton.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel about the word friendship? I'm just kidding. That's not how we're starting. Okay, so obviously we've talked on here a lot about how community is important, who you surround yourself with is important. We've talked about like your top 5 friends, like India. I'm sure you brought it up a long time in the first however many seasons that this was a one-man show. We still know that friendship and your community is super important. So when we were talking about this, I was kind of thinking of this question to ask you guys because I think a big part of friendship is holding your friends accountable and calling them higher and making sure that they're staying on track to who, like, that God wants us to be as Christians. So, like, if your friends notice that you were maybe not doing what you needed to do as a Christian, how would you want them to hold you accountable? You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's a
how would
really good question.
you to hold them hold you accountable?
That is such a good question. One thing that I feel like I would appreciate the most with something with accountability or just anything in general is being approached by one person. I think once you get approached by more than one person, you become defensive. So like I think in a situation, I love how our friendship works because we can all talk in a triangle, in our little pod, and it doesn't ever feel like there is like an attack. Like we all just are open and talking about and discussing things. But I think like in a situation where if I were doing something that you guys were concerned about, one of y'all coming to me and saying like, "Hey, I'm concerned about you." Just one at a time, because I think once you go more than one, and we're called in Matthew, I believe, to go to that person, like if you have a problem with somebody. Now I think it goes the same way for this situation, but like I would prefer that only one person approach me, and then if I continue to do it, then like both of y'all come in, and then you know what I mean. So like in love and just saying like the reason I'm coming to you is because I love you and I care for you and I know that you would want me and you would do the same thing for me. And just coming out of a place of love and not like, you know, like you're better than me or anything, because we all fall short. And so I think like coming to me as an individual and coming out of place of love would be the most beneficial for me in a friendship, I think. And I know everybody's different because some people would prefer like a big smack on the face and say like, "Hey, knock it off." But for me, I think I would prefer like a one-on-one, "Hey, I care for you and I love you and I can see that you're struggling, so I want to help you."
Yeah,
True.
that's good. That was basically what I was going to say. So thank you for that. In for me, definitely that. Definitely not a whole group coming in at once and being like, "This is what you're doing wrong, fix it," and then leaving. Coming from a place of love, like a place of like, "Hey, you can do better than this." Like, and I'm gonna hold you accountable to that because I love you and because I care for you. And then maybe even after that, it's like, and I'm with you in this struggle, and I'm gonna give you advice, and I'm going to walk with you in this situation. Kind of like also giving advice and saying like, I'm still here to support you, but out of love, you shouldn't be doing this type thing. So yeah, exactly what India said.
Yeah, I think we're all three just about the same. But I mean, I was just curious if there was ever like, I mean, obviously in other settings, I don't know, when I've been wanting to be held accountable or I've been wanting to be called out or whatever the situation is, sometimes it's like I feel like I can hold myself the most accountable if more people, like if I'm yelled at, but that was always like from like a work standpoint or like obviously a softball standpoint. If you yell at me in front of everybody, I'm less likely to do it again because like I'm already like you just really made me think really hard and be super embarrassed in a way, I guess. But definitely from like a friendship that was completely off topic. But anyways, from a friendship standpoint, I would totally like think the same thing. That's how I would approach it too. And that's what I thought of whenever I was like thinking about that question. Cause I was like, I'm sure there's other ways, but I just feel like one-on-one is so much more intentional And then, but if you do have like a huge friend group, like how would you, I don't know. I was just thinking like how that would be kind of hard to approach if like there's a friend group of like 6 people and it's hard to be like, okay, all 5 of us are thinking the same thing about you, but like, I don't know, that would just make one person super uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
then you just get like super anxious and be like, does everybody feel this way? Or am like, what am I really doing? That sort of thing. So I just thought it was
Yeah. I think
interesting.
like for me, one thing that I've learned is that it hurts everybody involved when like one person goes to another blue when one person goes to another person and is like, hey, I've noticed so and so has been doing this or this, or like, hey, she's acting weird, what do you think's up? And I think like the intentions could be good in that situation, like you're like, hey, I'm worried about her, like we need to check on her. But I think sometimes that can do more bad than good, because in that situation you're going to somebody else to discuss another person. And I think we are called to do differently. So like I looked up the verse because I was curious, because I know I've heard it before. But Matthew 18:15-16 says, if your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. And so, like, in that situation, I think one-on-one is exactly what we're told to do in the scripture, is like, hey, if somebody sins, or like, they're struggling, go to them one-on-one. And then if they don't listen, or they're, argumentative or defensive, I think you can come from a position of love with another person. So like in our friendship, if like I was doing something, like Peyton Rose or Lex, if y'all like came to me just one-on-one, and then you had a conversation that did not go well, then I would expect and I would hope that you guys would come together and talk to me about it.
Right.
But like, I don't think to go together before you have a one-on-one conversation. I think there's a reason that it is said the way it is in scripture, if that makes sense.
Right. I also think it also takes almost like some self-reflection to like know how you want to perceive it yourself, and like what of your friends or who of your friends are able to get through to you the most. Like, who are you going to hear from the best, and who are you going to be able to like receive information from and not take it as like from a place of judgment or a place of whatever, but you're taking it as like, know your friends and maybe have those conversations with like specific friends that like, hey, if you see me not acting myself, like please say something to me, just in regards to like I think there are some people in my life where I would be like, I would take it as them being judgmental towards me, or I would take it as them like not coming at me with words of encouragement, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I like I would almost like have to reflect on who I hear from the best, which is kind of like nitpicky, but like I just think, I don't know, as we've talked about it, I just think that is definitely like a piece to the puzzle, if you want to like take it that way. I don't know. Remember whenever we had to like all like go through and do our what were they called, where we like, if we had just struck out, like who were your people that could come talk to you and you not like get frustrated, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Which is
nobody. Nobody
so
was on my list. I said, don't talk to me. If I walk into that dugout after I strike out, if one of you even looks at me funny, I'm punching a hole through the wall.
I said, clear the hallway for me, because in my way, running over.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, there were people that could come up and talk to you, or like that you would be appreciative of, like actually being able to have a conversation, civil conversation, and not like take it negatively or take it out of context or whatever. Just know that they're coming from a place of love. They're coming from a place of like wanting to be there for you and wanting to call you higher and not keep you in a position where you feel like you're stuck. So I feel like that could totally apply in like a real life friendship situation, where like if you're messing up, like know the people that you want to come and encourage you and love you and walk with you through it, you know.
Yeah. I think also that goes hand in hand in picking your friends too, because if you surround yourself with people that you don't want to hear from,
Right.
get close to the people you do want to hear from, because that's the difference between, you know, life or death. Not too dramatic, but like, if the people you don't want to hear from are sitting there watching you sin, it's gonna lead to destruction. You know,
True.
that's why. I mean, that's a very good point that you brought up, but I think that's a good quality to have in a friend as well. Like, you trust them enough to sit there and tell you how it is without feeling like judgment from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going straight off of that, I think, like you said, picking your friends is so important, and not even in like a, I think a lot of times we kind of say that, and we don't really go into depth about what it is, because people are like, oh, can we not be friends with unbelievers? And I'm like, no, make friends with everybody, but choosing your circle is what matters. Like, who are you going to go to for advice? Who do you go to when you need your cup filled? Because we are called to be like, love everybody, but like, what truly, how do you define friend? You know, like, I would love to be seen as a friend to everybody, but my circle, you know, is small. I mean, Jesus's circle was small. Like, he made friends with everybody, but he had disciples, and within the disciples, he had people that he went to. And so, like, I think too, just finding your people is so important, because we are called, again, like we talked last week about how we are all one in the spirit. We, as friends, you find those people whose characteristics reflect Christ, and those are who you become friends with, because like, you want people in your life who reflect Christ constantly. And those are the people that you want to be involved with, because they are going to give you the advice, they're going to give you the love that you need. And of course, we're all human, so you know, we all fall short again, but like, your friendships are going to matter so much more, and it's so much deeper when you have a spiritual connection, and when you guys can repent to each other. Like, that's something that we had began doing after Passion, but like, specifically this summer, just being able to talk about things that we're like, actually, I have not been completely honest with you guys, you know, this is how I've been struggling. And so, surrounding yourself with friends that are following after Christ, and the way you can tell they're following after Christ, 1 Timothy 4:12 says, do not look down, like, do not allow people to look down on you because you're young, but be an example in speech and conduct and love and purity. And so it's like, you want to find those friends that are an example for Christ in how they talk and how they act and how they love others. And so, if you're not surrounding yourself with groups of people who are striving for that, then you are also going to struggle in those departments, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that totally makes sense. Can y'all hear the lawnmower?
Yeah, I think that's what Blue was barking at. I think he heard it through my computer and thought that they were outside.
You know, this is totally off topic, and we're going to hop right back into friendship here in about 5 seconds. But do y'all remember whenever Trinity had the lawnmower going on in the Zoom meeting? No, I understand on that Zoom meeting, but that's what that just reminded me of. And I was like, okay, I'm literally enhancing my inner Trinity real quick. Anyways, sorry about that. Also, when we were going through this, I remember the verse I think it's Proverbs 27:9, but it's that a sweet friendship nourishes the soul. And that is so true, because like kind of how you were talking about, India, I don't know how I completely feel about like not being friends with people who are not like seeking Christ wholeheartedly, like, or who aren't all the way Christian, or who aren't this and that. Like, I do think that we're called to love others. We're called to love others well. And I think we're called to be a light for others to see. And so I think that we should be friends with as many people as we can, because in the grand scheme of things, we're trying to build the kingdom as well. So if we're just turning people away and shutting people down, I think that has an opposite effect. So I think it is crucial to still try and like plant seeds in those people, and create those friendships, and see if you can I don't know, bring them to Jesus in some way, shape, or form. But it is important though, like you're saying, your circle is so important because like your friendships, like it's basically like who are you letting pour into you? Like who are you letting like give you that advice? Like who are you letting like, I don't know, like feed your soul, nourish your soul. Like if you're having those sweet friendships that are Christ based and Christ centered, and you're having like tough conversations, but you're also encouraging each other well, like you're gonna have like so much fruit from the spirit in those friendships and relationships that like you are like those will nourish your soul as much as like God wants us to have relationship and wants us to have friendship. Like he doesn't want us to be alone walking on this earth. Like I don't know, that verse really stuck out to me.
Yeah. This past Sunday, my pastor kind of touched on friendships a little bit, and he said, "There's hope in your friendships when Jesus is Lord of your friendships." So, and he said something that really stuck out. Like in a world where people are only looking after themselves, are you going to be the friend that is going to sacrifice your time and yourself for others? And so I think, I mean, speaking for myself, like you two are those people for me. So when I'm lacking wisdom or when I'm lacking, joy, I turn to y'all so you can fill me with that stuff too. So it's kind of like a balance. And I would 100% do the same thing with y'all too when y'all are lacking something. And it's that trust between us that just builds over time, basically. But like you said, Lex, it's those people who you choose to pour into whenever you are lacking something,
Mm-hmm.
which is huge, which is the difference between, life and death.
It also like takes any like surface level friendship is gonna like have I don't know where I'm going with this. Never mind. Redirect. Sorry about that. Somebody go.
Well, I mean, I think that's so true. Like, I know I've obviously talked about this before too, but I think love languages are one of the best ways that I've learned how to love people well. It sounds so silly, but it is so hard to, because I'm an acts of service girl. So I love just acts of service. And but a lot like it's hard to serve people well if you don't know how they like to receive love, because your way of giving love is not how everybody receives love. And so I think part of our job as believers is to love people well, but like meet them where they're at. You can't like just pour a blanket over everybody and love everybody the same way. And I don't think that's what Jesus did when he was on this earth. Like each person he interacted with, he knew them. And of course, like he has a supernatural ability. We do not have that, but that's part of what we're supposed to do. Like pay attention to things, love people where they're at. And so I think just as God has loved us where we're at and obviously brought us higher, but like I think that we struggle a lot with loving our friends the way that they need. Like are we truly loving people the way that they need, or are we just loving them how we think we should love them? Because I don't think those are the same thing. Because
Right.
My friends I think have learned, y'all for sure have learned how to love me where I'm at, because I like to self-isolate, or I liked, and so part of that is like me, obviously I need to come to y'all, and I have. And so it's like when I was saying, hey guys, I'm struggling, like I mean recently I was like I have to delete my social media. I'm struggling like really bad mentally. And instantly y'all were like, okay, we're here for you, we got you, like we'll post the stuff on the podcast account, and if you want us to do it, we'll do it with you. And so I think like that's a friendship that makes me realize, like, hey, I'm struggling, and not only are y'all going to be there for me, but you are willing to give up things in your life in order to help me feel like supported and loved. And I don't think there's friendships like that in this world, because we're called, to with friendships like, I think it's specifically with alcohol it talks about, but if there's like a sin somebody struggles with, do not allow your brother to stumble. So like with alcohol, if you're around an alcoholic, you don't drink alcohol, because that will cause your brother to stumble. And so similarly, I think that we are called to like be aware of the struggles of others so that we can not do those things around them. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. Right whenever you said that, it reminded me of that verse. I don't know the book that it's from, for some reason not clicking in my head, but it's iron sharpens iron. So like in those circumstances when you're texting us about like how you're struggling or whatever, because we both do the same thing. I text y'all too when I'm struggling. Peyton, you text us when you're struggling. It's like we're all struggling at some point. And that's how I felt. Like that's what that made me think of whenever you texted us, that is that like we're gonna be iron for you, and so that you can sharpen yourself to iron, we can help sharpen you back to the iron that you are, because you are so strong-willed, so strong-minded, and like you've gotten through it, you're getting through it, like it's everything's getting to be okay again. But that reminded me of that iron sharpens iron. What is that? What verse is that?
I'm gonna look it up right now because I'm curious too.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I know we've hit it times. Better Life, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I hear it all the time.
Proverbs 27:17.
Proverbs, another Proverbs. Wow.
I know. Proverbs eats. It really does.
Also, when you were talking about the love languages, it made me think of like how, this is just another random question. Like how is it, like what's the best way to navigate like a long distance friendship the way that us three have like our friendship? How do you navigate a long distance friendship and loving somebody well that like is quality time or like physical touch or whatever? Like how do you navigate those friendships to be able to love them well the way that they need in the friendship aspect? I don't have the answer. I'm just curious if y'all have
that is a great question.
Unless you go straight to words of affirmation. Acts of service, like for your acts of service, you were sending out those cards and everything. I feel like that is.
Yeah, I got your card, by the way.
You checked? Guys.
That was about 6 months ago, pal.
I sent a card in July. They came to Fort Worth in August. And this is so funny. They came in August and I told them I had sent them both cards, and Lex was like, "Oh yeah, I got it." And then Peyton Rose was like, "What card?" And I was like, "I sent you one too." And the other day we were on FaceTime and she said, "Oh, I forgot. That's what I drew." Aw. It was so hard deciding what design, but I feel like they both fit y'all. But anywho, but it was funny because I mean like with acts of service, I got my card sending love for it from Nana because she writes and sends cards to everybody, and she used to send them all the time to Moorhead, and she sent them to my apartment and now to my house. And so like it's been super sweet to see how she loves through like words and just actions. You know, she'll just send me a card randomly and just say, "Hey, I'm praying for you, love you." And so it's like, I think for me, not everybody is acts of service, but just as much as, you know, I want to meet y'all's needs, I also want to love you guys the way I also give love. So like for me, that is acts of service, but I know Lexi is, you know, quality time and stuff. And so it's like, Peyton Rose, yours is words of affirmation, right? Or is it quality time?
It's acts of service too.
Oh, LOL. How did
I know.
Why did I think it was? Well, okay.
It's definitely not physical touch.
No, it's definitely not physical touch. It is. I knew it wasn't that one, so that was an easy, you know, process of elimination.
Yeah, no, I'm acts of service and gifts.
Cute.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. That's funny. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
How did
I took the test like 2 years ago.
I think we can take it for Moorhead.
Yeah, Moorhead.
That's funny. But I guess for like back to your question, Lexi, I feel like for me, sometimes you kind of have to, like, I've learned to not with y'all because I think we all do a pretty good job of reaching out whenever we need it or want to, or, you know, want to talk. I think in other friendships I've learned sometimes you have to be the one that reaches out. I got like super prideful at one point and I was like, they don't deserve me in their life if they're not going to reach out to me, you know? But then I learned from a previous friendship relationship, whatever, that like, you know, if you think of someone, just call them or text them. You know, not a lot of people are callers. Sometimes I'm not going to call somebody I haven't talked to in a year. Okay. That'd be kind of strange. But I learned from him that like he would just call people just to talk. And I was like, man, I want to do that. So I started like anytime I would think of somebody that I haven't talked to, even if it has been forever, I text them and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Like, what's going on? How can I be praying for you? And so I think that's just loving people in general. I'm trying to do better at, you know, and not just like meeting somebody and then leaving, you know, just being like done with them. But I think like for us, or like longer distance friendships, keeping up with them, praying for them is huge. And learning how you can serve them well. I think it is hard for us because we only see each other like once, twice a year max. But I think we keep each other updated and we talk and we're there for each other if we need it. Like if I needed advice, I would call y'all. So it's like, I don't know, for me, just being a reliable friend, I think is the best way to love somebody, because that is not common. And also not just texting somebody, like if somebody texts you and says, hey, you know, I'm struggling with this, and being like, man, I'm sorry. That sucks. Like actually giving your advice and love and actually genuinely letting them know that you care. I think there are a lot of ways to love people from a distance. I mean, like praying for them is the biggest form of love I think you can do. Especially if it's somebody you don't like. That is something I've learned I have to do. Loving somebody from a distance you don't like is harder. It is so difficult. But I've just learned like the people that I feel like I struggle to love, I will pray for throughout the day, multiple times a day, so that my heart posture will change. Not necessarily them, because it's not their fault I dislike them sometimes. Like it is my heart not having that love in there. But yeah. Sorry, Peyton Rose, go ahead and answer, because I totally took up most of that time.
Yeah. What was the question?
How do you love your long distance friends? Like based on their love language. If somebody's love language is quality time, like my love language is quality time, but obviously y'all are in Texas and Kentucky. I don't get to spend that quality time with you guys. So like, I'm sure there's other people, anybody that was in college, like has gone through long distance friendship at some point. So like, how do you navigate how to love them the way that they need to be loved from a distance?
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, you can't realistically, you know, if long distance, you can't, if somebody's physical touch or like, you know, like something physical, you can't do that. So you go to the next step, like what's their second love language? And if that's quality time, set up like a weekly FaceTime with them or a weekly call or something like we have, just to show up for them, just to be like, yeah, I'm here for you, I care for you, I still want to talk to you, I still want to pray for you, and just to stay connected to them. I mean, I think that's huge in and of itself. Or even if you're acts of service, like take Indy's example, write a card to them or send a gift to them. If you're thinking about them, buy it and send it off. Or like,
I think we're getting hints. She's
or
like, okay, if they have an Amazon wish list at Peyton Rose 2001, make sure that you buy them something and send it to their address.
Exactly. Yeah, no. I wouldn't oppose that. Like a little Venmo of like $5, like, hey, I'm thinking about you today, get yourself a coffee kind of thing. Like, it doesn't have to be extraordinary. It doesn't have to be like $1,000 gift or something. It's just a little appreciation.
Yeah, you'll not be $1,000 gift from me. Sorry about that.
Well, sorry, like to go back to the question, because I guess I got like way carried away and kind of forgot about the question halfway through what I was talking about. But I do think part of it too is partially your responsibility. Like it's not always on your friends to fulfill your needs, because of course like Christ fulfills us, but like also not in what you were saying, Peyton Rose, but like the physical touch aspect, I think it's hard because specifically in like long distance, like dating relationships, we struggle with this too. If you're like physical touch, because it's like in your head, you're like, we're having problems because my love language is physical touch, blah blah blah. But I think too, like make friends where you're at too. Like, as I love y'all and I am friends with y'all and y'all are my best friends and y'all are my inner circle. But if I just didn't find friends where I'm at here, and my needs here were not being met, then that's on me, not on y'all for not being able to fulfill all those needs. Does that make sense? So like,
Yeah.
you have a responsibility to go outside of your like main circle too. And I have my best friends here as well. So it's like, you don't have to limit yourself to like 2 people, because y'all are my best friends and y'all know the most about me and y'all know me better than anybody. But it would be almost irresponsible of me to say like, put all that pressure on y'all and say, you guys are in charge of all my happiness and joy. And, that's not fair to y'all. And it's not fair to me either, because my needs won't be met that way.
Right. For sure. Honestly, they also want to be met that way regardless, even if we were there, because I mean, God's the only one that's really going to fill all of us up anyway. So if we're if we are relying on our friends or our family or man in general, like man as in humanity, to fill us up and like give us joy and give us the fruits of the spirit, we're not really going to get it anyways, because that's the Lord's doing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm totally in agreement with you.
This has been such a good conversation. We talk about friendship all the time and how important it is and how important community is and all the things.
Yeah, I feel like we have so many episodes on just friendships alone.
Yeah. And I think like we've been learning too a lot personally. I know I'm going to shut up. Just give me 2 seconds. I know we've learned a lot personally about what friendships look like. And I know like, I know too that, like, especially being on a team together, we learned exactly what not to do in friendship. So we have been through the ringer both ways. So we've gotten to a place where we are learning to love each other well. It's a process. You don't just immediately do it. But anyways, all right. Anyways.
True. Okay, the peas are officially out of the pod. Also, I got my flu shot today. My arm hurts, but thankful friends for getting me through it.
Hey.
Go make a new buddy today.
Love people well.
And check your mail.
Go and make friends.
Check your mail.
Check your mail. Bye.
Bye.